Welcome back, guys. Your man Unspoken Reviews back again with another video. And today, yes, I know I'm a little late, but I'm going to treat this as a bit of a recap for Daredevil Season 2, Episode 7. All right, guys. So, episode leading up to the finale. All right, man. So, I got to say, this season has been pretty good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's good to see Daredevil back to where it was once. A great show with great writing and great characters and great moments and great opportunities for character growth, and it's been awesome just enjoying the show. I wouldn't say it was top tier. I gotta say this episode was not my favorite, but it definitely did have a couple emotional beats that kind of set off what we can expect from the season finale. All right, guys, so I will touch up on a couple topics, and like I said, this video won't be as long as my normal ones, but I didn't want it to be so extensive. All right, so we'll start off first with, it was pretty awesome finding a little bit more out about Luke Cage. We see that Jessica Jones does come after Charles, and she gets a chance to talk to him about, why he's been causing so much problems in New York. To find out the reason that Luke is working for the CIA was so that Jessica wouldn't have to. It just kind of shows the way the CIA has been working, messing around with different kind of special abilities and individuals, and it makes you wonder how they found out about them. I mean, it's not that Luke Cage and Jessica Jones have been pretty much under the radar. They've been operating, doing their own thing, so it doesn't surprise me that they came after them and wanted to use them. It's really funny because Mr. Charles says, well, the CIA agents that came to your house were only meant to tell you to back off. And I'm like, well, dude, they brought machine guns and rifles, and a freaking grenade fell in their house. I mean, them coming to tell them to back off, you could have sent one or two people to the door to kindly knock and say that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jessica wasn't going to stop doing what she was doing, but it doesn't change the fact that you placed their kid in danger doing that. I mean, at this point, they couldn't expect Danielle to have the exact type of power set, but the idea that they put her in full-blown danger like that just to satisfy their own needs says a lot about what they're willing to do. And it's not lost on Mr. Charles that Jessica's powers are going away, which I think is also why Luke stepped in, because Jessica wasn't going to do anything like that, but also the idea that they didn't want their daughter being placed under the CIA's control. I'm pretty sure they would have tried to force them. I mean, I don't know really how you're going to force Luke Cage to do anything outside of them getting their hands on any of those Judas bullets, or potentially, trying to gas him or something like that. It would take that to stop Luke Cage. But it's pretty awesome to see that he's been overseas, that he's been active. It makes me wonder if Danny's working alongside him or Danny's handling his own situations. And it makes me wonder, when these two come back together, how awesome it's going to be to see the boys back. And to cut to Karen as well, that is how the episode kicks off. And we see that she's being processed into jail. It's not her first time in jail. As you guys remember, she was in jail in season 1 in the very beginning, as they tried to blame her for the death of her coworker. But we see Fisk does come to, mess with her a little bit, and he's talking to her. And, I was wondering if he was going to kill her, but I kind of wondered he probably is not, because he probably needs her as bait to kind of draw Matt in. And I like how, Karen is not scared of him at this point. She actually points him out for being afraid after losing Vanessa and everything that has happened, as he's losing his grip on the city after the events of the previous episode. And of course, it's just pretty awesome seeing these two have this tit for tat, but it's also cool seeing how Karen is not afraid anymore. She's kind of past it with everything that she's dealt with. It doesn't surprise me that she's just kind of like, meh, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. And Fisk kind of leaves her alone and walks away. And despite all this, we see that Cherry has been keeping an eye on her and trying to figure out if she's safe or not. And it turns out she's at the 15th. And I like the little meeting between Cherry and Jessica Jones as they get a chance to meet each other, knowing these two kind of operate in the same kind of work, right? They kind of both do investigative work for, law firms. And it was pretty awesome seeing these two meet each other. I'm still not a fan of Cherry. There was a little jab that happens to him in the episode that I thought was messed up. Jessica does tell Matt that the best idea that he could possibly do for the best outcome is to finally get over himself and kill Fisk. But Matt still doesn't want that. He also points out the idea that even if Fisk dies, if he manages to kill the governor, everything they've done will be for nothing. We also find out that Karen is being held at the 15th precinct, and it's pretty awesome to find out that we get another character reveal of Brett Mahoney. Man, it was great to see his character return. Awesome seeing him come back. He is one of the OG characters. I'm so glad that they brought him back, even if it was at the very end of season 2. Having a precinct that is not dirty. I mean, he does know there's probably some dirty cops there in the precinct, but that doesn't stop Mahoney from doing his job, and he's always be pretty awesome. The last time we did see him was during the end of Daredevil season 3, where he does arrest Fisk. So I got to be pretty sure that it was frustrating for him seeing the dude suddenly get out and become mayor. But nevertheless, he still finds a way to help them out, and he helps Karen to get out to talk to Matt in full Daredevil getup. And he does offer not to come get her, and she offers the same thing, saying that that's not the best course of action. But he does have another idea that will help them get justice in a different kind of way. And she kind of understands what Matt is saying, and that idea is for him to go to Bullseye. And it was pretty awesome seeing these two talk, and he offers Bullseye a chance at penance, but he tells him he hates him for Foggy. He hates him for the priest that was at the church. And that lines up. He doesn't skip out on the fact that he still views him as a villain, but gives him the opportunity to do something to balance the scales, as he would say. And Bullseye, despite it all, understanding where Matt is, says that he's down for whatever it is he wants to do.
We do get to see the plan that Matt did have with Bullseye was to have Bullseye intervene and save the governor, realizing that Fisk was indeed going to kill her. Pretty smart play on Matt's part. Getting Bullseye to save the governor's life. We do know that Bullseye doesn't really have an allegiance to anyone, so he's actually just acting on his own accord. Doesn't change the fact that he's a vigilante, though, and by saving the governor's life, it puts, vigilantes in a better light overall, which helps kind of disperse a little bit of Fisk's argument. So it was a pretty smart call for Matt to do that.
Do kind of pick up on where Daniel left off with BB, as we know that he did reveal to her that Buck does want her dead, and he has been keeping her at his mom's house. I guess, kidnapping her, but he doesn't seem to really be able to do anything outside of take her phone and just keep her in the house. And, he does tell her, that she caused all this, but he caused some of it as well, that they were both using each other. And BB does tell Daniel that Fisk is responsible for her uncle, Ben Urich's death, which he immediately tries to push that away and say that that's not true. But she does say, it's true. And he kind of hesitates for a minute to realize that, he's been working for the wrong team. He's been playing for the wrong team, and he's put himself in too deep. And he tries to tell her he doesn't really have any other choices here other than to give her up to Buck. And it was pretty interesting seeing this for Daniel, seeing him in between that dilemma between doing the right thing and doing what it takes for survival. And we do see that he does eventually end up letting her go, as he realizes that that's not the best course of action, that it's not the kind of person he wants to be. He gives her back her phone, and he tells her just to leave and not to tell her anywhere that he's going. And it was kind of sad seeing his character get killed off the way he did at the very end. It was kind of a good redemption opportunity for Daniel. But the truth is that there was no way he was going to get out of this. You don't make a deal with the devil and then suddenly back out when you want to. I said it from the beginning, ever since he buried that body, that was it for him. He pretty much signed his life away in ink, and there was no way that he was going to be able to walk away from this situation unless he moved his mom out of New York. But either way, Buck would have found a way to find him. And I like the idea of Buck feeling so restrained. He doesn't even really know if he wants to kill him. And I did read that there was a different ending they set up for that, where Buck doesn't kill Daniel. He actually lets him go. And you can kind of see a look on the actor's face where it was kind of left open-ended as to whether or not he killed him or not. But the writers decided that they have gone as far as they can with Daniel, and that it was best to end his story right there. I do like where Daniel looks up at Buck and he tells him, how long until you're the one on the floor with the gun pointed at you? And you can kind of see the gears kind of turning in, Buck's head, and he's realizing that Daniel might be right. He knows that this is going to end only one way, because once Buck outlives his usefulness, sooner or later, he's going to be just like Daniel, down on the floor with a bullet in his head. But shout out to the actor. Michael Gandolfini did a great job, and it was a great send-off for the character. I like how it kind of wraps up the episode with Matt saying that prayer. It was pretty awesome. So Matt's other idea that he has is not only to send Bullseye out, he also comes back as attorney Matt Murdock. And I like that. That was actually a pretty clever idea. He kind of comes up with the idea to return in the courtroom. You remember in the earlier part of the season, Fisk does announce Matt as a local hero for saving his life in season 1. And this comes back to bite him in the ass hard, you know, because as soon as Matt walks into that courtroom, cameras are flashing. Everybody knows his name because not only is he a well-known lawyer, he's also renowned as a hero by the mayor himself. This takes away any edge that Fisk has on just taking him out in front of everybody. So it's pretty awesome. It was a pretty awesome play by Matt. He comes in, defends Karen. I like that during the prosecution. Remember, I told you guys about Cherry. It's really messed up that Powell actually calls out Cherry by saying, yeah, it's serious as a heart attack. And I was like, damn, bro. You see the camera just focusing on Cherry. And I'm like, bro, that was such a cheap shot. But I also like how they came at Cole North for the death of Hector Ayala. That was something that needed to be said out loud, even though they say that's an objection, that it, you know, they're kind of coming at the witness, but it is something that happened. And I like how the judge was like, there's no jury here to play to. And I like how Kirsten's kind of like, isn't there? And I was like, come on, it's the entire city. He's right. Even though there's no jury there, the court of public opinion is not something that can be ignored. You know, Kirsten and Matt are leaving the courthouse. We do see that the anti-vigilante task force does take a shot at them. Something to be expected. There was no way they were going to let them walk away. Powell is such a dick, man. I cannot stand this dude's smile. I can't wait until somebody takes this dude out. I really hope so, man. Either that or he goes to jail. He's got it coming. He's been way too cocky. Someone has to really shut him down. I'm actually kind of hoping it's Bullseye. Matt does take a bullet to the leg, but Kirsten does manage to get out free. Something I was very happy about to see in the episode, realizing that she does survive. And it's pretty cool seeing Matt go back to the church and kind of have that moment of prayer. And I like how that actually kind of wraps up the episode. You know, he's kind of asking for mercy from God and an angel to help, you know, help him through his time of need. And I like how Jessica Jones walks in at just that moment. You know, it was just, and that's always been something cool about Jessica Jones. Even though she acts like she doesn't want to be involved and that she wants to limit her, you know, activity in the situation, when her friends need help, she's down. And I love that. It was something that happened in Defenders. It's something that's happened in the Jessica Jones series, but I definitely liked it in Defenders. It was kind of like a, you know, they kind of going back to that moment where she comes back in the restaurant and throws the car at Elektra. That was pretty cool, seeing her come back and just be willing to help Matt through the situation despite everything, realizing what it could cost her. She realizes that Matt is her ally, a friend, a fellow hero, and she doesn't want to see anything happen to him, so she's there to back him up, and rightly so. So, guys, that was the wrap-up of the episode. It wasn't a lot that happened. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite episode, but those were just the key points I wanted to hit on a recap before we hit the season finale. I wasn't going to go too in-depth, but I definitely liked this season overall. Okay, like I said, this previous episode here was not my favorite one, but it did definitely have some moments that stuck out, and it really kind of amps up the next level where we got to go with the season finale. I wonder what's going to happen to Fisk. I have heard we're supposed to be getting Santa Fisk, where he has like the white beard and everything like that. I also just like the way that this show has been giving Fisk and the villains some issues to deal with. That also includes Heather. That's something that I did miss here with the kind of cat fight, quote unquote, that goes between Heather and Karen. It was inevitable. They both were with Matt. And I like how they're showing Muse is in the background. I like the shot of where they're in the office and they don't highlight Muse, but you can definitely see his reflection in the mirror facing Heather, just showing that his influence is still there in her life. And that's something that I'm glad the show doesn't have to put such a finger on. It kind of lets people realize it, because usually in shows, if they do something like that, it'll start off like a little foggy kind of image and then it will enhance to show who's looking down at her. They didn't have to do that. Since you've been watching the show, you already know that Muse has some kind of influence over her after he abducted her. And it's pretty interesting watching, you know, Heather go more Muse and go full tilt Muse. She's taking more steps to that very edge of the cliff. One, I'm excited to see how she is as a villain in season 3. I heard we're supposed to get a couple new villains in season 3, but I also heard the Defenders are supposed to be coming back. It's going to be pretty awesome. I wonder if Elektra herself will come back. I believe the actress Elodie Young, if I'm saying her name right, was interested in coming back and playing the character. So it would be pretty awesome seeing her character come back as well. And a lot of iterations, she is also a Defender. And I do realize in season 3, Matt is supposed to be in jail, I believe. So we have an opportunity of doing, She Daredevil, where Elektra does kind of dress up as Daredevil to kind of represent him in his absence. or we could have it where Iron Fist Danny Rand is actually dressed up as Daredevil to exonerate Matt. Either way it goes, I'm pretty excited to see season 3. I'm glad to see the boys are back in town. I'm glad to see the Heroes for Hire getting their opportunity. I'm hoping that we get other characters like Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. I really love those two characters. They were awesome. I definitely hope they do some cameos in season 3. But that was my quick recap on this previous episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.